Welcome in the latest episode of the Five on the Floor podcast on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Make sure to check out fivereasonsports.com. Spell it out, F-I-V-E, reasonsports.com. We've got more contributors than anybody else, and it is all free. All of our content there is free. We've got our YouTube feed there, plenty of videos coming in. Also, our podcasts, our stories, our columns. Our merchandise is not free, but you need to check it out. We've got 11 different Heat shirts, and, of course, our Tua and Flores shirts for the Dolphins. So as we lead up to the NFL draft, you're going to want to do that now, because if you order by like Tuesday, Wednesday, you will have the Tua shirt by the time that the Dolphins pass over him or draft him. And either way, you'll either burn it or wear it. So make sure you get that Tua shirt. Go to fivereasonsports.com. Also, we're going to be giving away, thanks to our friend Ryan Lasner, our marketing director, we're giving away a signed Myers Leonard card based on something that is said in this episode. So listen to the entire episode. I will then put something on Twitter, and the winner, the first person to respond, will win the cards. You got to listen all the way through, which of course we know you're going to want to. I'm going to be talking to Alex Toledo today, Tropical Blanket. We're giving Alf the day off because it's his birthday, and I'm sure he's already wasted. So we weren't even going to try to go anywhere with that. I want to tell you about one of the great new sponsors of the Five Reasons Sports Network, and that is a State Farm agent down here, Luis Peters. It's an agency representing the number one auto and home insurer in the entire United States, more than 60 years of combined experience in the insurance industry. These are local agents that understand South Florida's unique market, and they got access 24/7. Obviously, walk-in is not an option right now, but call in or click in. You can call 305-275-5585. That's 305-275-5585, or click in at luispeters.com. That's L-U-I-S, peters.com. Personalized service tailored to each customer and no cookie-cutter solutions. You can follow Mr. Peters at SF Agent Peters. He's a big Miami sports fan. He's arguing Miami sports all day long on Twitter, as are most of our sponsors. They come from here in our audience, in our market. So definitely check him out. Great guy. And again, it's State Farm. You know that it's credible. And a lot of people are going to have a lot of insurance questions right now. You definitely got to check that out. I mean, there's some insurance companies that are offering givebacks. Talk to Luis. Talk to him and find out how he can help you. And now, today's episode.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a Miami Heat and NBA podcast from Ethan Skolnick with Alphonse Sidney, a.k.a. Alf954. Brought to you by the Five Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back. As I mentioned, no Alphonse Sidney tonight. He had Alex. He told me. I asked him early in the day. I said, "Can you pod tonight?" I have Zoom calls. What the hell does that mean? I'll be drunk. Okay. So the other night.
That means that he was going to be on Zoom calls of like people celebrating his birthday.
Right.
But he couldn't do this Zoom call because he's going to be busy with other Zoom calls, basically.
Right. He passed on us so he could get wasted. And, you know, he did the 5 reasons to drink the other night with us. So check that out. We've been doing that on Friday and Saturday night. You then came on a live stream afterwards. You showed up late.
This wasn't even late. I was never going to be on it. But by the time that I was back home, I was spending time with my girl. And by the time that I got back, I'm like, oh, it's still going on. I'm just going to come on. And then Alf was telling me in another chat, oh, we want to keep this going. Other people want to come on. And a bunch of Heat people came on. I set up the StreamYard, never done it before. And we went on for hours. Different people came on. It was a lot of fun.
Not hours, 6 hours. 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. The stamina. I respect it. Well, I don't really respect
the dedication.
It. Yeah, the dedication to what though? To what?
Come on.
To what company? I didn't even endorse this. You weren't getting paid for it. There were 3 people on it. Other than you had more people.
That's not true. We were hovering around 20-30 the whole time.
Okay. 20-30 hosts or 20-30 listeners, viewers?
We had about half of that as far as hosts. We had so many people on. We had people on that work at ESPN. I mean, this was cool.
People that work at ESPN, that's big time.
Veronica Keithbay of ESPN, of course.
Wow, look at that. That is impressive. That's all right. We had Kylie Wong, and Kylie was kept losing connection. And, that was basically our 5 reasons to drink. We'll be doing 5 reasons to drink every week. Obviously, a lot of people have more time to drink.
A lot of people liked it, by the way. A lot of, we were interacting with people from YouTube and Twitter, and a lot of people had questions. And there was some people staying on for hours. The people enjoyed it who were there. The people who were there enjoyed it.
Well, you can check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. We archived it. I probably should have watched it before I let it go.
I hope you did do that for the second one, for the one that I did. I was the only reason it wasn't deleted off Twitter by the time that you woke up was because I don't have access to the 5 Reasons Twitter account.
No, it's there. It's there. It's on the YouTube channel right now. Yes, check it out.
Awesome.
Or don't. All right, let's get to today's episode. There's so little Heat news. I don't even know if this is Heat news. All right, but anytime that any orca, whale, large guppy has a problem somewhere else is going to get associated with the Heat in some way. And the Heat have made no secret that they're admirers of Donovan Mitchell, as is Dwayne Wade. And the latest on this, as I'm checking, there was a report today by Chris Haynes that Rudy Gobert, if you don't know the backstory here, Rudy Gobert, of course, is the one who shut down the NBA because he mocked coronavirus, then he got coronavirus. And then according to all these reports that Woj was putting out, which were kind of character assassination, Rudy was touching everybody and hugging everybody and kissing everybody and making light of it. And Donovan Mitchell, got coronavirus too, although he seems to be okay. But we don't know who had it first because there's no way to know what the incubation period and everything else. But apparently, according to more than one report, Shams had one, but others, Donovan Mitchell's not happy with Rudy Gobert. And it was reported that it might not be salvageable, their relationship. And then there was a report today from Chris Haynes that they had their first kind of phone call to clear the air today. First thing, Alex, your thoughts in general on Utah's situation, which just strikes me there's no news right now. And then we'll get into whether Donovan Mitchell or even the other one, Rudy Gobert, would ever be a fit for the Heat.
I mean, it's just a weird situation overall. Very, semi-dystopian. We're just these two. We don't know what's gonna happen with our 2 All-Stars. If you're looking at it from a Jazz fan perspective, or even a Utah front office organization, we now have conflict between our 2 best players and our 4 cornerstones. Because of the virus, even though, everything you said, it's asymptomatic. You don't know who gave it to who. It was going to happen regardless, right? The NBA was going to shut down at some point. Gobert just happened to be the guinea pig in this situation. I'm sure there's other things behind the scenes that we obviously don't know about. Who knows how much Gobert was actually doing in the locker room. I agree with you on what you said about Woj's report. It made it seem like Gobert was just a guy who spread it around the NBA, which is completely unfair. But the whole situation is weird. And then, it seems like it's getting better now, which kind of made sense. It seemed like that would be something that would happen again. So I wonder how it even is right now. Do you think this is going to be something that keeps going up and down, or you think it's finally stabilizing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on when the season's coming back. We don't even know if there's going to be a season. And then is there, there was a report today about 25 days that were basically necessary with training camp, kind of a lead up period, 2 weeks of camp and some other things in preseason just to lead you back up to where you were before. So by that time, do they patch things up? How many other calls do they have at that stage? Does Jazz management get involved? I mean, the Jazz have been a pretty stable organization lately. They're run fairly well by Lindsay and by and also by Quinn Snyder. So, I mean, they're not dysfunctional. They're not the Kings. They're not the Suns. They're not the Knicks. They're, they're not a lot of those other franchises. They're not the Cavs. So, I mean, I would think that they would be able to sort this thing out. I guess the question becomes, if they can't, well, what does it mean? We've seen guys that don't like each other play together. What would even be the impetus for the Jazz to trade? I mean, because Donovan Mitchell is their superstar. Rudy Gobert is a really impactful player, but Donovan Mitchell is their star. I mean, he's the person that the fans relate to. He's still on the come up. I mean, I thought he had a really good bounce back season this year after a bit of a down year last year after the great rookie year. What would even his contract situation? Why would they even look to move someone like him?
No, I don't think they're definitely not trying to move either one of them. And it's funny that you say that about the fans. I think I would agree with you. If I was looking at it from this situation, I would prioritize Mitchell just because of what he's been able to do so quickly in the NBA. But then you can also make a fair case for Gobert. Like, I know Gobert is obviously a very limited player when you just watch him. But the fact that he's been such a dominant defensive anchor for so many years, he's like this era's, I want to say like Dwight, right? Like they're not complete. They're not exactly the most comparable players, but as far as defensive impact goes, Gobert is right up there with Dwight. He's a very good rebounder, just like Dwight was, limited offensive player, just like Dwight was. And I think, like, it's a fair case to be made for Gobert as well. So I think, like, that would be a tough thing to maneuver. I've seen some tweets from different Jazz fans and different people involved with Utah and have interest in them kind of siding with Gobert, because they were already defending him and pretty much saying the same thing we were, that who knows if somebody gave it to him from his own locker room, or, if the whole Mike situation that was memed was really the situation that spread it. Probably not. And I think it's like, there's no easy answer there. I think they're definitely trying to diffuse the situation so that they don't have to trade anybody at this point.
Yeah, I don't think they would want to. And I guess the next question then becomes, first, look, this idea of who gave it to who, they're never going to know that. Like, it's just a matter of, whether or not they approved of Rudy's behavior. And Gobert is known as a bit of a jokester. He's not Embiid, but he has a sense of humor. It kind of backfired in this case. I think there's also somewhat of a translation issue. Some things that might go over well, maybe France didn't go over well here. I don't know, but I don't think that it's unsalvageable there. I guess, again, I don't know that you would trade your quote unquote star, but it is at least worth exploring from a Heat perspective, because our lefty Leif, Greg Sylvander, put it out there that Donovan Mitchell is somebody you would blow up the 2021 plan for. Now, we've had a conversation about the 2021 plan. Since we've spoken, Mickey Arison sold off 8% of Carnival Cruise Lines to Saudi Arabia to essentially stabilize the business, okay? If the coronavirus crisis is not as, destructive long-term as it maybe appeared a few days ago, then possibly, Carnival can dig out of this a little quicker, but it's not going to be quick anyway. And we've talked about how the 2021 plan could be affected, by what the Heat's financial situation is, in light of the fact that their owner is in a business that was impacted. I mean, Houston, the Houston owner, I talked about this on a previous pod, and now the Houston owner, because he's in the casino and restaurant business, the Houston owner is trying to raise money to save his business right now. I mean, they've got big problems with Rockets.
Yep.
But if you take a look at what's going to happen with the Heat, it's not just the Heat, it's the NBA. And if the salary cap is cut significantly, the luxury tax number is significantly lower, the ceiling of it is significantly lower than it was, then you're looking at a situation perhaps where, the Heat may not even have a 2021 plan like we thought they had. And in that case, then you may look to do something quicker. So I asked this question. I put it out there on Twitter. I said a core, okay, and Jazz fans flipped out on me because you're not getting him for that. I don't know what they're getting him for. But I said a core of Bam, Jimmy, Donovan Mitchell, Duncan Robinson, and either hero or none, because one of them would have to go, all right? Maybe both, okay? At least one of them had to go. I said that core could win the East. Could. I didn't say it would. I don't think maybe I said it would. But I said it could win the East. And why I said that was the Jazz have been a 50-win team with Mitchell, who would be in Miami in that scenario, Gobert, who in my view is not as good as Bam, okay, or at least his upside is not as high. Joe Ingles maybe is their third best player. Well, Jimmy Butler is better than Joe Ingles.
I'd be Bogdanovich.
Okay, maybe
it's one of them too.
I would take. Would you take Jimmy and Duncan Robinson or Jimmy and Dragic over Bogdanovich and Ingles?
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah. Jimmy is that much better than both Bogdanovich and Ingles. I think that gap
is huge, right? And Conley was bad this year with Utah. So, and Royce O'Neal. I mean, the Heat have role guys who are every bit that good. So you're telling me that a 50-win Jazz team in the West with the core they've had, that the Heat couldn't be a 55 to 60-win team in the East with Donovan Mitchell and what they currently have? If you don't have to part with you're not parting with Bam, but if you didn't have to part with that much.
Yeah, I think that's a completely fair thing to say. Obviously, we would have to see it at play first because you'd be incorporating somebody who's a very high usage player. He's been the guy offensively for Utah since his rookie season. And, obviously there's already a formula in place in Miami between Jimmy and Bam's facilitating. And then you got Duncan Robinson beating pretty much just as big a deal. I think his shots will go down just a little bit as well. So we would have to see it at play. But I pretty much side with you all the way here. Like, that Utah team is very good. And I agree with you that even though Bam and Gobert aren't exactly the same type of player, I think Bam has more of an upside right away. Like, I don't even think it's a theoretical upside anymore. I think the fact that he's so ahead of time now and it's just his first year as a full starter, like, it's very easy to project him going forward as somebody who you would rather have more than Bam. More than Gobert. And I would rather have him more than Gobert at this moment. Maybe not everybody feels that way outside of, like, Heat Twitter. But that's how I feel. And I think that team will be very, very, very tough to beat, especially in an East where, like, every team past the 6th seed is either mediocre or just straight terrible for the most part. And we know that he loses these games in the regular season. But I think that team could definitely win 55, right? Like, if you're giving up none hero, let's say another contract filler, and probably you got to give up something else still.
Maybe. I mean, that's the other thing. Nobody's talking about KZ as trade.
It would be KZ or another first, right? Another first that becomes eligible.
And I don't know what other teams think of KZ, but I think what we saw that last month in the G League was promising. And nobody's really talking about the fact that he could be either a core piece you keep or a piece that you could flip that might be a sweetener here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this idea that the Heat wouldn't be ultra competitive with that group. I mean, Donovan Mitchell to me would fit with Jimmy Butler. Like, Jimmy's not a high usage player,
and he would definitely fit because they need that other type of high scoring talent. And I think the other thing to consider here is just like every other, Orco or however you want to classify it that we talked about over the past season, whether it's Oladipo or Bradley Beal or whoever else. We've said that the ultimate swinging factor for the Heat would be Donovan basically laying out to the Jazz that if they are going to trade him, Miami is one of the limited places that he would want to be traded for. And I think something like that will need to happen for the Heat to really be a front runner. But I think that he could definitely be competitive with a deal like that if they're giving away none hero and a pick and, maybe a pick and KZ. I don't know how much it would take, because that guy is obviously extremely valuable right now. And Nunn and Hero are very good players already, but who knows if they can reach the type of, production that Mitchell he's had since his rookie season. So it's a different type of value we're talking about here. He's still in his rookie contract. So it might be more to give up than Beal or Oladipo,
Yeah, no, right. It could be. Like, I mean, Beal's situation, we know how expensive Beal's going to be. I just think when you look, first thing, the Heat did a ton of research on Donovan Mitchell. We've all kind of, we were lamenting the fact that they missed out on him because of 30 and 11, and they ended up, settling for all-star Bam Adebayo. To end up with both of them at their respective ages would be tremendous and
an incredible win.
An incredible win, and again, there's already the seal of approval from Dwayne. There's elements I've never seen quite. Some of the comparisons I think have been a little overblown, but there are some elements of Donovan Mitchell's game that are closer to Dwayne than anybody else that's come since Dwayne, to be honest. And so he's a natural fit here. I do think he's a Heat culture guy. There were some that were questioning that. I absolutely think he is. I think they would make him a better defender. I think
they like him too.
Yeah, they loved him. They loved him, and they loved him, and they loved his toughness. His whole, he was a scorer at a premium college at a very high level, and he did it consistently, and he was the best player on his team for a 2-year period, and yeah, he's the type of player that
came into the league in great shape. I remember Leif saying that they loved him because he was in great shape too, and he was very self-motivated. And then he proved himself in that rookie season where he came in as a lottery pick and as somebody who's he might be able to produce right now, but he's not an alpha scorer. And that's exactly what he proved to be. He was somebody who coming out of college, they said he can be considered a non-shooter right away. And it was the opposite. He was a shooter right away. Maybe he's not one of the best, but he's definitely good enough. He's better than Oladipo when it comes to shot creation and specifically jump shooting shot creation. He's got it already. He's proven himself and he's a two-way player too.
Well, he took over in a tough situation.
Fits all the patterns. It checks all the boxes, I think.
Well, he's a three-level scorer, and they took him at a time where they were losing Gordon Hayward, and they needed someone to step up and take the scoring burden, and he did it right away. I don't really see a downside there. I don't think this is all that realistic, but the idea that he wouldn't make the Heat elite in the East, I think, is totally off base. Now, the other question is Gobert. There was someone saying, well, maybe the Heat would make a play for Gobert. I think the old Heat regime would. But I think it's hard to make a case for Gobert and Bam fitting well together until Bam develops a jumper, right? Like that is, it doesn't feel natural to me, Alex. Like I don't.
I think if that were to be the case, like if we're going to talk about that being a possibility, just like Donovan Mitchell, even though neither of those become available, I think that's an even more interesting one to talk through because it's not as clean a fit as all, like you're saying, at all. But just imagine a front court pairing of Bam and Gobert defensively for a second.
With Jimmy at the three.
Oh my God, bro!
But do you have enough shooting, right? Like, I mean, you would need
if you could somehow keep Duncan. Right. I think you figure it out on the margin with other guys. I think if you have that type of elite shooting talent, you just say, forget Duncan's like defensive. Well, we've got Jimmy, Bam, and Gobert on the front lines. Mm-hmm. Like you just need to have
with that trade, you might be able to keep Hero. What if you had Duncan and Hero and Jimmy as your three perimeter players?
I mean, that would be incredible. I just don't know what a package for Gobert would even look like. That's just a tough. I would imagine Hero would need to be involved because he's like the most tradable. And I think that's the player that he.
Well, none is the most tradable piece on the team, but I don't. Right? I mean, but even if you kept.
They can't trade Gobert for just Kendrick Nunn and like a Kelly Olynyk to make the deal work or something.
No, they can't. But also in Utah, they do some. Look, they've done some things. They've done some.
They would love Hero in Utah, right?
Oh well, yeah, for obvious reasons.
They will be clamoring for a package of Hero, Duncan, and Kelly.
I don't know if Tyler's white enough for them. Actually, I'm not sure. There's a little.
There may be Young Thug and Little Uzi in his playlist.
Yeah, there's a little too much drip. I'm not sure that would work.
Might be too hip hop for Utah.
In Utah, right? Yeah, he might be. I think he might be too hip hop for Utah. I don't know if that would work. But the Gobert thing is interesting. Like I said, the old Heat would make that move, and they would say, we're going to put Bam at the 4 and let him terrorize people and blow up pick and rolls and on switches, how do you think Gobert protecting the rim.
Their problem has been their defense this season, right? The season that might be over.
That would solve all of it.
Listen, looking at this like, man, either one. We'll try to make it work.
Right. Well, like I said, Mitchell.
I'm kind of there. I'm kind of there right now.
Well, Mitchell's the cleaner fit, but sure. Gobert changes their whole dynamic. I just don't know if like I said, in the modern era of basketball, do you want Bam playing only 4? Because that's where he would play.
Yeah, it would be extremely difficult to figure that out. I might have talked myself in too quickly, but
yeah,
that's the type of pairing along with Jimmy where it's like you got that part so figured out that you're better than everybody else at it. And if you keep dunking, like you got that part figured out. And I think that's. Well,
I think the fifth piece does matter. Then I think the fifth piece, whether it's Hero or Dragic, it's got to be somebody who can, who basically can stretch the floor. Because if you don't, there's not going to be any space on offense. I mean, until Bam develops that jumper.
If they could keep Duncan and then one of Nunn or Dragic.
Yeah,
I think they would be set in that part. I think from there they would just need to pick up one solid guard defender. Because that would be a hole. But at the end of the day, like, come on, like you're gonna have Bam and Jimmy playing up on the perimeter while they funnel everything to Gobert. Like, Jesus Christ, that would
It's gonna be some Heat Knicks scores in there. Back from
everybody else zags, Ethan.
It wouldn't be the first time they've cut against the grain. But anyway, we're going to talk about one other thing, and we're going to do a little nostalgia here to close out the podcast. But before we do, I want to tell you about one of the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And again, like all of our sponsors, he listens to the episodes. He's a South Florida sports fan. He's active on Twitter. He's Jonathan Chung, Dr. Jonathan Chung at Keystone Chiropractic and Neuroplasticity, which is focused on low-force spinal adjustments and brain-based rehabilitation. They've gotten great results with post-concussion syndrome, dizziness and vertigo, headaches, and chronic neck and back pain. A lot of chiropractors and therapists want to see you 3 times a week for months, but Keystone has a treatment philosophy of doing just enough to get you back to a normal life again. Now offering, and this is important, obviously we're on this stay-at-home order, they're now offering virtual rehab visits using video conferencing to not only assess but also prescribe effective treatment protocols during the COVID-19 outbreak. The research shows that patients getting supervised telemedicine rehab programs can be just as effectively treated as they could be during in-person visits for many pain conditions. And like all of our sponsors, we also got a promotion here. If you mention 5 reasons to John, you get a free 15-minute video or phone consultation. What do you have to lose? And save 50% off your first virtual rehab session. You can find them at chiropractickeystone.com. Again, that's chiropractickeystone.com. All right, let's close here quickly. A couple of things. One, I mentioned we're going to give away a Myers-Leonard card. So to win the Myers-Leonard card, here is the question that we're going to be posing. The first one to answer this will win the card, and you got to do that on Twitter at 5 Reasons Sports. Do you have a question? I have a couple in my head, but do you have something you want to throw at people?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you threw me off there. What are you talking about?
I'm asking if you want to ask a question. I'm offering. You're the youngest. It's like you get to go first in the board game. Is there a question that you want to ask the audience about something that happened during this Heat season?
I'm sorry. I'm literally like, I don't know if I missed something. I was looking up stats for the debate we're about to have, and you just completely threw me off.
All right, so cut this. Cut this out. So cut this. We're coming back for the break. You know what? I'm gonna ask.
Were you trying to throw out the prompt?
I was trying to come up with. I was stalling to come up with something. Is what I was.
Oh,
doing.
I thought we were gonna do the Lakers Heat thing.
We are, but I want to ask a. I want to ask a Heat related question here for people to answer.
Oh, you're saying the prompt for the shit. Okay, yeah, I missed that part. I Stugatz moment right there.
Okay, no problem. Trying to think what we can do here.
Let's see. So you want them to basically give us their opinion on something?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, or to remember something from the podcast.
We could do a poll on like Mitchell versus Gobert. I don't know.
It's not a poll. It's like an answer. It's got to be the first. It's to win a Myers-Leonard card. So it's like the first answer.
Okay. More like trivia.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't. I don't want it to be trivia so people can look up. That's the thing. I want it to be trivia that.
Something to do with the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something we'll reveal during this time here. I don't know. Too tired at this point.
It was something to do with Gobert and Mitchell. That's all we talked about. But
yeah, but there's something in this.
The only thing that has to do with this podcast from those two is like me saying that I would consider Gobert just as much as Mitchell, but like.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so tired.
You could on the last one on the.
All right, let me start over here. All right, so this is right after the break. This is after the Lewis Peters ad. All right, so we're back for our 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're back for our final segment here. As I mentioned, we're going to give away a Myers-Leonard signed card, courtesy of our guy Ryan Lasner. So I told you, listen till the end of this episode to find out what it's going to be about. We've been bouncing around a few things here about Rudy Gobert and about Donovan Mitchell. God, I don't know what it is. You know what? Let's just talk, and at the end, I'll come up with it. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're back here on 5 on the floor. One thing that's been happening is everybody's been bored, and I didn't watch that horse game tonight. I saw a little snippet of it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to bother with that. is everybody's been bored as they're having these debates. So I'm watching on Twitter, and it's like every day it's Dwayne Wade's being thrown against somebody in a debate. James Harden, keep one, cut one, bench one, these various debates on Twitter. For some reason, he's being pitted against Dirk all the time. Where there was one about who would you keep, cut, start, bench, or cut, Garnett, Nowitzki, or Dwayne. Okay, so people were going on.
I thought you were referring to a different one that I saw that also pitted Wade and Dirk against each other, where it was like, who would you take out from this group? And it was Durant, Curry, Wade, and Dirk.
Yes, I saw that one too. And Dwayne lost on. Dwayne was fourth in most of it. All right, so there's been all of these debates. So one of the debates I thought that was actually interesting today that came out was somebody posted on Twitter who would win the 06 Heat or the 08-09 Lakers. And of course, the 08-09 Lakers won a championship with Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, Andrew Bynum, and Derek Fisher as their primary starting lineup, although Lamar played a lot off the bench. And Trevor Ariza and Luke Walton played some starters minutes. Vladimir Radmanovic played some starters minutes. That was the core of the team. Jordan Farmar was the backup point guard. And Vujovic, right. So those were kind of the top 10 on that team. They also had
Goran's mortal enemy.
Yes. That's right. So that was a question on who would win between the 06 Heat and the 09 Lakers. And most people picked the Lakers on this. The argument that I would make for the Heat, and that unlike you, I was not the biggest 06 Heat stan in the world. I didn't love the roster construction. Dwayne caught fire and all the rest. My biggest thing, and it was most people's biggest thing, is that Shaq, Andrew Bynum's not guarding Shaq, even that Shaq. Would you agree with that? Because I feel like the Heat bench was stronger. Their depth with Peyton, even on his kind of last legs, and with Posey and with Zoe, like just having those three off your bench was better than what the Lakers were offering. But do you agree that the Shaq thing was kind of the big thing?
Yeah, I think that'll be tough just because most people could not guard Shaq. But 05, 06, it wasn't the same as 04, 05 Shaq, as we talked about in all these draft pods. I don't think Bynum is a terrible guy to have guarding Shaq considering the field, right? As far as during that time, who else would you want? I guess Dwight at that time was still – depends on what time we're going, but let's say between 06 and 09, Dwight was very good. I don't know how many other guys you would want to throw at Shaq, so I don't think that would be their worst thing, but you definitely give that advantage to the Heat, no doubt about it. I think it will be tough because I would imagine – Phil Jackson, who was the Lakers coach, to run similar stuff to what the Mavericks were doing to Shaq in order to kind of get him out of the pain and make sure that he isn't just dominating them. But they had Gasol there as the 4. It's a very big team. They had Ariza and Kobe as their 2 and 3. So maybe they didn't even need to do that. They could just play them straight up and bet that D-Wade isn't going to do to Kobe and Ariza what he did to the Mavericks backcourt, who just couldn't stop him at getting to the rim at all.
Yeah, I actually think the 09 Laker team was more complete than that Mavericks team. And I do think that Gasol would give Shaq work on the defensive end. I mean, people are forgetting how good Powell was at that point.
Oh, yeah.
He's really, really good, okay? I mean, he shot 57% from the field that year. He averaged 19 and 10.
He was winning the games by himself at some point. The games
he was their best player in some of those playoff games, including the finals. I mean, it's hard for me to differentiate between 09 and 10, but – He won them a lot of games, like you said. I mean, Derek Fisher, Jason Williams, Derek Fisher would kind of cancel each other out to me. Dwayne and Kobe.
Oh, no disrespect, Jason Williams like that. Wow.
Well, I mean, Fisher was 34 at the time. Derek was a pretty good defender. Was a good spot-up shooter. Derek did shoot, I'm looking at 40% from 3 that year. He wasn't going to create off the dribble. He wasn't going to create defensive problems for Jason Williams. But I do think he'd probably be able to stay in front of Jason most of the time. To me, the X factor for the Lakers is Odom. I don't know that the Heat would have had a great matchup for Odom.
Posey begs to differ.
Well, that would be the one
Posey
guy.
And Antoine.
Not Antoine. I think that he would have given trouble. But to me, the biggest thing comes down to this: if Shaq would be difficult to handle, but the question is, would Dwayne have been able to do anything close to against Kobe to what he did against the Mavericks in the finals? And I don't think so. And that's why
guarding Kobe probably.
While also guarding Kobe
on him, but no Wade would have minutes guarding him for sure.
Right. And so I look at it, and I know this is going to be, piss off Heat fans. I was a big 3 stan, but I was that 06 team to me, like I said, caught lightning in a bottle. I think the Lakers probably beat them. I do. I just think their versatility, and I think the Kobe size advantage over Dwayne, although I've always made the case for Dwayne being right there with Kobe, but that was Kobe before the Achilles injury.
And
he was, he had.
I'm looking at I'm comparing 05-06 Shaq to 08-09 on basketball. I'm sorry, 08-09 Pau Gasol on Basketball Reference, and the numbers, oh man, they're a lot closer
than people think. Imagined. Yeah, no, they are. I mean, because
Gasol was better in a lot of these too.
Well, Shaq averaged 13, and people forget Shaq averaged 13 in the finals. I don't know that. I look from a size perspective, yes, but I think Pau's nimbleness. Shaq was not moving as well at that stage of his career, even though he did get in better shape with the Heat. But that was the second year with the Heat. It wasn't the first year with the Heat. Shaq wasn't in the same shape the second year. And I do think I was never a big Bynum guy. I don't think people remember me writing a bunch of columns saying I didn't want the Heat to make a move for Bynum when other people did. But Bynum was 21 years old. Yeah. His energy alone, if he actually expended any, I think would have given Shaq some trouble. And to have the combination of Pau and Bynum, I just think too much length.
Also, man, I'm looking at these numbers. Pau was just, according to like the advanced numbers, Pau was just better. Like playoffs, regular season, he, much better win shares per 48, much higher VORP. Shaq was a -2 in the playoffs per 100 possessions, whereas Pau was a +22. And, the Lakers were a better team during the regular season, right? We're comparing based on ceilings but at the same time, it's like Shaq got worse in that playoff. So it makes me like side towards the Lakers even more. Whereas like Gasol was just a hugely positive player, regular season and playoffs. On defense too, he was not a defensive season. I guess that, is probably because he was part of a really good defensive team. But, man, Gasol was damn good, man.
Well, Gasol, based on – I know these numbers are not perfect, but the Basketball Reference numbers, his offensive rating was 126, 105 defensive rating. So, I mean, he was a hugely positive player. Again, that Heat team was tough. They were feisty. They got an all-world performance from Dwayne. I would take the Lakers in 7. Okay, here's the thing. We're giving away a Myers Leonard autograph card, courtesy of Ryan Lasner from our network. Here is the word. You listened all the way to the end. Here is the word to win that. Laker great. He played 10 games that season for the Los Angeles Lakers. He was, I guess, their last player in terms of scoring. Sun Yu, the great Sun Yu. Do you remember Sun Yu? You don't remember Sun Yu.
No.
That's the word. Sun Yu. 2 different words. That's the name of the player. Be the first on Twitter and you got to spell it correctly, okay? Sun Yu, send it to us on Twitter. You win the Myers Leonard card. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.